when the endeavor, apahate, futile, tasmin, that. Daitya Indraha, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu. Parishankitaha, very much afraid. Considering how the boy was protected. Chakara, executed. Tatvada upayan, various means for killing him. Nirbandena, with determination. Yudhishthira, O King Yudhishthira. Translation: Oh my dear King Yudhishthira, when all the attempts of the demons to kill Prahlad Maharaj were futile, the king of the demons, Hiranyakashipu, being most fearful, began contriving other means to kill him. So, there's no purport to this text, so we'll continue reading until we get a purport. Text 43 to 44. Dingajar dandashu kendrayar abhicharava patanahai ayabi sanivrodaischa garadhanher abhojanahai imavai vagni salilai parvata krama manarapi nasha shaka yatahantum apapam asurasutam chintam dirgatamam praptas tatkartum navya panyata. Hiranyakashipu could not kill his son by throwing him beneath the feet of big elephants, throwing him among huge, fearful snakes, employing destructive spells, hurling him from the top of a hill, conjuring up illusory tricks, administering poison, starving him, exposing him to severe cold winds, fire, and water, or throwing heavy stones to crush him. When Hiranyakashipu found that he could not in any way harm Prahlad, who was completely sinless, he was in great anxiety about what to do next. Text 45. Esha me bhavasadu tukto vadopayascha nirmitaka taistardroha sadharmayar mukta swainaiva tejasa. Hiranyakashipu thought, I've used many ill names in chastising this boy Prahlad and have devised many means of killing him. But despite all my endeavors, he could not be killed. Indeed, he saved himself by his own powers without being affected in the least by these treacheries and abominable actions. Wow. Text 46. Vartamano vidhurevai balopya jadadiriham navismarati me naryam shuna shepa iva prahu. Translation: Although he is very near to me and is merely a child, he is situated in complete fearlessness. He resembles a dog's curved tail, which can never be straightened because he never forgets my misbehavior and his connection with his master, Lord Vishnu. So, purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The word shuna means of a dog, and shepa means tail. The example is ordinary. However, one may try to straighten a dog's tail. It is never straight, but always curved. Shunak Shepa is also the name of the second son of Ajigartha. He was sold to Harish Chandra, but later he took shelter of Viswamitra, Harish Chandra's enemy, and never left his side. Interesting purport. So, actually, this particular description, Shuna, Shepa, is very interesting. So Omagana Timidanda Shaganan Shana Shlakaya Jakshuram Meditam Yena Tasmai Shigurvena Maha, because there's two meanings to this. It means basically a dog's tail that can't be straightened, so that actually describes a devotee. Of course, it's not such a nice description. We don't say about devotees, you're like a dog's tail, it can't be straightened. But it describes a devotee's determination, which is very, very important. Of course, according to the Nectar of Instruction, what are the qualities necessary to advance in devotional service? Does anyone know the verse? No, Sanskrit.
Utsaha Nishchaya something, I forgot.
Karma Pravartanan. That one, Nischyad Darayat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangos Chagat Sato Vrite Sabir Bhakti Prasidati. Isn't it? You know that verse? That determination, patience are required in the beginning. You understand? Determination. So this is the quality of a devotee. Of course, that quality is also listed in the Bhagavad Gita. Vyavasayatmika buddhir ekha kuranandana mahol shaktas tuanantascha. So those who are on this path, Krishna describes, they're one-pointed. Their determination is one. They're always thinking ultimately of the same thing. What are they thinking of? Pleasing Krishna. That's the point. Not necessarily, they're not thinking of liberation. They may not be thinking of, they're not thinking of being Krishna conscious, they're thinking of pleasing Krishna and pleasing Krishna's representative, spiritual master. So, Vyavasayatmika. And Prabhupada, when he read Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's purport to this particular verse in the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada's determination to go to the Western world quadrupled. Because Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says this, one point of determination, Vyavasayatmika buddhi rekeha korinandana, is a relationship to the order or the instruction of the spiritual master. So Prabhupada was like this too. So Prabhupada's determination was unbreakable. So anyway, another meaning of the word Shunashepa refers to it. It's a very interesting story from the Ramayana and also from the Mahabharata about Harish Chandra and Visramita. Of course, they were all familiar with the story about Harish Chandra being tested by Visvamitra. I'm not going to tell that story. But the story of Shunakshepa is so interesting because it is part of Visvamitra's advancing in devotional service. So what happened is that there is this person named Shunashepa who was supposed to be offered as a human sacrifice. In those days they did human sacrifices, just like they had Gomeda, Ashwameda, and human Meda, whatever it is. And so this Shunakshepa approached Visvamitra to save him. And Visvamitra first said to his sons, he had 100 sons, one of you should take the place of Shunakshepa. And they all said, no, Dad. And then Visvamitra cursed them all to become like chandalas and dog eaters for the next 100 lifetimes or 1,000 lifetimes. So he was had such a big problem with anger at that particular time that even he cursed his own sons. So then later, he gave Shunakshepa a mantra, a Vishnu mantra to chant when he was being offered as this human sacrifice that would save him, and he chanted that mantra, and Shunakshepa was saved. So that's a story in the Mahabharata. Anyway, so that's a short purport, so we'll go ahead and read until we get a longer purport. Text 47. Aprameyanubhavo yam akutasched bayo maraha nunam etad virodena Mrityurme Bhavitanava. I can see that this boy's strength is unlimited, for he has not feared any of my punishments. He appears immortal. Therefore, because of my enmity toward him, I shall die. Or maybe this will not take place. Text 48. Iti tatschintaya kinchin lana shriyam adomukam shandamarkavashos shandaso vivikta iti hochatohu. Thinking in this way, the king of the Daityas, morose and bereft of bodily luster, remained silent with his face downward. Then Sandanamarka, the two sons of Shukracharya, spoke to him in secret. Jitam tvayaikena jagatrayam bruvor vidrimbanatrashta samasta dishnyapam natasya chincham tabanata chakshvahe navai shishunam gunadosha yopadam. O Lord, we know that when you simply move your eyebrows, all the commanders of the various planets are most afraid. Without the help of any assistant, you have conquered all the three worlds. Therefore, we do not find any reason for you to be morose and full of anxiety. As for Prahlad, he is nothing but a child, and cannot be a cause of anxiety. After all, his bad or good qualities have no value. Text 50. Imam tu pashar varunasya badva nidehi bito na palayate yata buddhischa pumso vayasarya sevaya yavad gurur bhagava agamishyate. Until the return of our spiritual master Shukracharya, arrest this child with the ropes of Varuna so that he will not flee in fear. In any case, by the time he is somewhat grown up and has assimilated our instructions or served our spiritual master, he will change in his intelligence. Thus there need be no cause for anxiety. So finally, text 51. Tateti guru putroktam anugya yenam abravet dharma yasyo padeshtavyo rakyam yogrihame dinam. After hearing these instructions of Sandanamarka, the sons of his spiritual master Hiranyakashipu agreed and requested them to instruct Prahlad in that system of occupational duty which is followed by royal householder families. Purport. So Hiranyakashipu wanted Prahlad Maharaj to be trained as a diplomatic king ruling the kingdom, the country, or the world, but not to be advised about renunciation or the renounced order of life. The word dharma here does not refer to some religious faith. As clearly stated, dharmo yasyo padeshtavyo ragyam yo grihave medinam. There are two kinds of royal families, one whose members are simply attached to household life, and the others consisting of rajarshis, kings who govern with ruling power, but are as good as great saints. Prahlad Maharaj wanted to become a rajarshi, whereas Hiranyakashipu wanted him to become a king attached to sense enjoyment, griha medinam. Therefore, in the Aryan system, there is varnashram dharma, by which everyone should be educated according to his position in society's division of varna: brahmana, kshatriya, vaishya, and shudra, and ashram: brahmacharya, grahastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas. A devotee purified by devotional service is always in the transcendental position above the mundane qualities. Thus, the difference between Prahlad Maharaj and Hiranyakashipu was that Hiranyakashipu wanted to keep Prahlad in mundane attachment, whereas Prahlad was above the modes of material nature. As long as one is under the control of material nature, his occupational duty is different from that of a person not under such control. One's real dharma or occupational duty is described in Srimad Bhagavatam, Dharmam tu sakshad Bhagavat pranitam. That means Dharma only comes from Bhagavat. As described to his order carriers by Dharmaraj or Yamaraj, a living being is a spiritual identity, and therefore his occupational duty is also spiritual. The real Dharma is that which is advised in Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharman Purityasya, Mamekam Sharanam Purusha. One must give up one's material occupational duties just as one must give up his material body. Whatever one's occupational duty, even according to the Varnashram system, one must give it up and engage in one's spiritual function. One's real dharma, or occupational duty, is explained by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Jivera Swarupo Hoy, Krishnera Nitya Das. Every living being is an eternal servant of Krishna. That is one's real occupational duty. So, I think we'll talk a little bit about Varnashram before we end the class. Of course, Varnashram is described in brief by Srila Prabhupada, and Krishna in the Gita describes that Chaturvarna Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma Vibhagasha, then one is assigned a particular position in Varnashram according to one's guna and karma, not according to one's janma or birth. Actually, in Kali Yuga, janmana jayate shudra. In Kali Yuga, kalo shudra sambhavad, and also janmana jayate shudra. Everyone is a shudra by birth. And then samskara bhavat dvijam. They can become twice born. Dvija also refers to a bird. Why does Dvija also refer to a bird and to a Brahman? Does anyone know?
They're like eggs, that's why. It's come from twice.
Yes, because the bird is twice born. The egg pops out of the mother bird, and the egg gets hatched. And so a Brahman, or even a Kshatriya or a Vaishya in the Varnashram system, is twice born. So, anyway, so Prabhupada here mentions that one should give up I'm going to read a quote here. Whatever one's occupational duty, being according to the Varnashram system, one must give it up and engage in one's spiritual function. So, does that mean, like in the case of Arjuna, that he was supposed to give up his occupational duty? No. But one should dovetail one's occupational duty in terms of one's psychophysical nature. That was one of the main lessons in the Bhagavad Gita. Like, Krishna is convincing Arjuna that you're a Kshatriya in many cases in the Bhagavad Gita, and your duty is to fight. I mean, there's many verses. I mean, of course, Krishna ultimately says, Sarvadharma Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Bharaja. But there are other instructions are important too. It's not you just take one instruction in the Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna says that if you try to engage in another's occupational duty, what? It's sinful. One should engage in one's occupational duty even if one can do something else nicely. And that's in relationship to devotional service too, because there's two types of varnashram. One is the material varnashram, which is present in every society. People say, well, there's no varnashram. Actually, there's one interesting, a philosopher's name was Plato. Anyone heard of Plato? Whatever. No one's heard of Plato. He wrote a book called The Republic. And in The Republic, he talks about varnashram, basically assigning people to different roles in society according to their nature. So you may say, well, we don't have varnashram in this country. Well, I say you do, but it's a Sura varnashram. Because there are people who are salesmen, there are people who are farmers, there are people, of course, in essence, everyone's a Shudra because they're not Krishna conscious, but that's another issue. But you have people who do the different occupational duties. You have administrators. Unfortunately, your administrators are probably Shudras. You have preachers, who in many cases are Shudras. But in other words, you have a division of labor everywhere. Like Prabhupada sometimes would comment on the communists who say that, everyone should be equal. But it was not like that even in the worst, most intense days of communism in Russia. You had a class, bureaucrats, and they were exploiting everybody else, and they weren't equal. They had their, what is a word in Russian called dachas. That means like nice houses on lakes, and they enjoyed life. And you had the ordinary workers who were just like doing menial work. So there's always a division of labor in any society, according to one's psychophysical nature. So the difference is that in Krishna consciousness, we engage our psychophysical nature in Krishna's service. And one of the duties of the spiritual master is to engage the disciple according to their psychophysical nature, which is really important duty, because otherwise someone will not be stable and steady in devotional service. If someone is doing a duty or activity that is not in accordance with their nature, their mind will wander. So, therefore, this is actually a very important point in the Krishna consciousness movement. So it's not that we give up varnashram. Prabhupada, in fact, said when he was getting ready to leave this world, we read some of the memories, that he was disappointed, or 50% of his mission was not accomplished because he had not instituted varnashram. And we're reading in the memories, TKG's diary right now, that Prabhupada is wanting to go to a place named Gita Nagari in Pennsylvania. You remember that? Reading that. And the reason for that is Prabhupada wanted to establish varnashram there. And so Prabhupada considered it extremely important. And important also in the sense that he saw devotees were not able to continue many devotees, because they were not Brahminical by nature. They could not continue their Brahminical activities, but had to do something on a lower level. In the beginning of the movement, we had this misunderstanding that everybody could become a renounced Brahmin. In fact, everybody could be renounced. Nobody would get married. Completely impractical. And everyone would live in the temple. Even the married couples would live in the temple. We were thinking, this is how life will go on. And if anyone lives outside the temple, they're blooped. Blooping is a word that means bloop, like you fell in the material ocean. Bloop, as you entered the material ocean. So that was the consciousness that we were thinking. We were actually thinking like that. Everybody's going to be Brahmin, pujaris. We'll never have a lack of pujaris in the temple because everybody's going to be a Brahmin. We were sorely disappointed after Prabhupada left, or a few years after Prabhupada left, when people sought out their natural occupational duty, or even unnatural occupational duty. And then we had more deities in the temple than devotees. And so the deities had to take care of the devotees instead of vice versa. So, anyway, the point is that varnashram, or executing devotion, that's called daiva varnashram, in devotional service, is actually just as any position, is just as important to Krishna as any other position. So, anyway, so is varnashram. So any questions or comments about these points? Yes?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
So a few days ago in class, you were saying illusion, and I want to know what it means.
Illusion, okay. I'll explain what illusion means. Did you ever go for a ride with your parents and look out in the road and see that it looked like there was water in the road?
Yeah.
And then you got there and there wasn't water in the road?
No.
No. That's called a mirage. Okay. Think of another example. Did you ever have a dream at night?
Yes.
What did you dream of at night?
I can't really remember any dream.
Okay. Think of another example. Did you ever dream you were a bird flying in the air?
Yes.
Oh, good. Gotcha. So you had that dream. So what happened when you woke up?
I woke up, and then I remembered I had a dream of being a bird, and then so I told my parents all about it when I was having breakfast.
That's nice. So, but that dream you had of being a bird, can you fly now?
No.
Why not?
Because dreams aren't real, and it's, and like most dreams that you think about things that aren't possible to do.
Yes, and that's what an illusion is. It just, for some short time, you are thinking that you are something, or that something exists, and then after that, it doesn't. You understand? So that's an illusion. So you dreamt, your dream lasted what, 10 minutes maybe?
Yeah.
All right, so right now, we're also dreaming.
Yeah.
Did you know that? All of us are dreaming. We are thinking that, like I'm thinking I'm an old man. So is that a dream? No. But it's temporary. What'll happen? What will I be in 50 years from now?
Very old.
Set him up for that one, you know.
Maybe not even alive.
What will I be in 100 years from now? Will I still be in this body in 100 years from now?
No.
So I'll be somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So isn't my thinking that I am the body and wrong? What do you think?
Yeah, I think so.
So that's an illusion. I'm an illusion. Okay? It's just like a car. The car will get old and you throw the car away.
But how do you throw it away?
Well, you bring it into either a junkyard, or you bring it into where you buy another car and you trade it in.
Oh.
So when we leave this body, we throw the body away. How do we throw the body away?
We leave it.
We just leave it. Where do we leave it?
Where we died.
Yeah, and then what do people do with it?
They rot it.
They rot it?
I think they rot it.
They burn it.
Oh.
So then all this body becomes is what? Ashes. And then you have all these ashes, and you keep them in your living room. Because you want to keep your... This is what one of my relatives did. Her husband died, and she had the ashes. She said, I want to keep him around the things he loved in life. No, you put the ashes in the Ganges. You know that? One day, this body... Well, of course, because I'm a sannyasi, they don't burn the bodies. Why don't they burn the bodies of a sannyasi? Because the body of a sannyasi is being used, hopefully, to serve Krishna. So it's spiritual. So they'll put me in the ground, not me, they'll put the body in the ground and put salt all around it.
Salt.
Did you know that? And then they'll put a little thing on top called samadhi, and there'll be a little picture of me in it. And then people will come and offer a little incense. And then I'll tell them to put out the incense because it's...
How can you tell the people if you're dead?
What?
How can you tell the people to do...
I was just joking. That's good. Yes, I was just testing him. And they'll do a little arti, and they'll say, oh, he was nice while he lasted. And then hopefully they'll remember my instructions. So anyway, so the connection to the body, because it's temporary, is called an illusion. If you think something is permanent, let's say, you know what a soap bubble is? Here's another example.
Okay.
You ever blow a soap bubble?
Yeah.
You know, a bubble?
Yeah, like when you're getting soap out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that.
You ever have a bubble bath?
Yeah.
So that's funny. So if you have a soap bubble, and you think that soap bubble will continue to exist, will that soap bubble always exist? Will always be there? Why?
Because like normally when you square all the soap out that you need, the soap bubble pops. Or you might want to have some fun and go pop the bubble.
Yes. So if someone thinks that the soap bubble is eternal, that's an illusion. Now you understand what an illusion is? If they think that something temporary is eternal and continues to exist, that's illusion. Okay?
Okay.
That's very good. Thank you. Nice question. Anyone else have a question? Yes, Jitendra.
Maharaj, you mentioned something about the Russians or the Soviets. Oh yeah, about communism.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know if
Prabhupada talked about it too.
right. I don't know if this is confirmed or if it's just a rumor or whatever. But I heard that Prabhupada said that the Russians, especially of that era, that's very, let's say, demonic. They're actually from the lower planets in the universe, and they came here.
No, I never heard that. Oh my God. Oh my God. Prabhupada said that in spite of, Lenin, and of course he commented on Marx and Lenin, trying to establish a classless society. So that was the whole idea of communism, is to have a classless society. But it never happened. There was always a controlling class that exploited the other classes. And Prabhupada said communism is a economic system for Shudras and a political system for Shudras. And democracy is an economic and a political system for Vaishyas. Like you can buy your way into office. And we were interested in the kingly system, actually, where you had a saintly leader. Nowadays, the leaders, let us say, ethical or moral qualities are not really considered. Especially, one particular leader that I'm thinking of, who should remain nameless. And even ministers and religious people ignore that in the leader's personality and the leader's actions. It's a symptom of Kali Yuga. Anyway, so we want Rajarshis, not Durjarshis or something like that. Rajarshis. Any questions or any other questions or comments? Questions, comments, problems, issues? All right, we'll end early. Today's our last day here for a while, for a week. And after that, you all can rest. All glories to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.